The Los Angeles area could be one of the next targets of the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration.
Mario live for us in downtown LA with more on a leaked ICE memo. What's this all about, Mario?
Good morning. That's right. That leaked memo being cited by the LA Times, and it reportedly states that a large-scale immigration enforcement operation will be happening in Los Angeles in the coming weeks, and we continue to see those demonstrations protesting those efforts from the Trump administration. Take a look. We have some video here showing you the latest. This is from the Citizen app. This was yesterday as hundreds gathered in downtown LA near City Hall, blocking traffic on Spring Street. It was eventually dispersed by LAPD with no reported injuries or arrests, but every single day since the morning of February 2nd, there have been people on the streets of Los Angeles, sometimes in the thousands, protesting the Trump administration's immigration policies and his promise to increase deportations, with many worried that raids happening across the country will make it here to Southern California. Last week, we saw heavily armed SWAT teams storming apartment complexes around Denver and Aurora, Colorado. And on Friday, the LA Times, citing an internal document, a government document reviewed by the outlet, reported that ICE would oversee a local large-scale operation targeting undocumented immigrants or those who have pending orders for removal, with local FBI and DEA agents and officers being called in to assist. That document reportedly circulated among some government officials last week, and yesterday, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi on Fox News was asked about leaks within the government. This was her response. So we can tell you that basically the FBI has not made any comment on this, and according to that leaked document being cited by the LA Times, that large-scale immigration enforcement operation is set to happen by the end of the month, and we're expecting those protests, those large demonstrations, to continue this week. That's the latest here in downtown LA. I'm Mario Ramirez. We'll send it back to you.
We're getting a new look at the stepped-up immigration enforcement efforts that are happening on the Mexican side of the border. ABC News foreign correspondent Matt Rivers got an up-close look at some of the thousands of Mexican troops sent there as part of that new deal between the United States and Mexico. And he has more from Tijuana.
Hey there, yeah, we're alongside members of the Mexican National Guard here in Tijuana, Mexico, or rather the limit of Tijuana, Mexico, because if you follow me this way, you can see this is the U.S.-Mexico border right here. The wall actually stops at this exact part because the mountain here becomes too rocky and too steep to actually continue building the wall. So there's about 200 meters or so of open terrain here that, while too steep to build a wall, it's not too steep for migrants to cross over. In fact, we know that this was a key point for people illegally entering the United States. That clothing, water bottles, things like that, that's left behind by migrants. This was a highly trafficked area just up until a few weeks ago, until this new deployment of Mexican National Guard troops all along the border. Some 10,000 Mexican National Guard now deployed at different parts of the border after negotiations between the United States government and the Mexican government. President Trump had been threatening tariffs against Mexico for what he said was their unwillingness or inability to stop both fentanyl and migrants from entering the United States from Mexican territory. As a result of these negotiations, he put off those tariffs for 1 month, and the Mexicans have agreed to send more troops to the border. Not only to parts of the border wall like this, where migrants we know cross over, but also to ports of entry. It's important to note that a lot of the fentanyl that enters the United States actually goes through official ports of entry, just driven right across. And so we saw earlier troops from the Mexican National Guard inspecting cars going across that border. I was at that border crossing just a few weeks ago. That same border crossing did not have National Guard troops there. Now they are there. That is a recent development. And so this is the state of play, both in regards to fentanyl and to migrants along the U.S.-Mexico border. But whether all of this that we're seeing is enough for President Trump to further delay or maybe take off the table that threat of tariffs against Mexico remains to be seen. Kana?
All right, Matt Rivers, our thanks to you as always.
Hi, the LA County District Attorney's Office held a news conference just a short while ago to announce that a man has been arrested and is facing a felony charge related to throwing items over onto the 101 freeway during a protest last week. Now, they did not release video of the actual crime. They say that is still under investigation. But what you're taking a look at now is video from one of many protests that took place on February 3rd. Now, thousands of demonstrators took to the the streets to protest immigration policies. Many gathered on the overpass above the 101 freeway. LADA Nathan Hockman says a complaint was filed today against Martin Richard Torres, who was at the protest near the Spring Street exit. Torres was arrested for allegedly throwing things onto the freeway, including books. The DA says with an intent to cause great bodily injury. At least one car was struck. It's not clear how extensive the damage was, but at a news conference this morning, the DA said this is a serious allegation. He says Torres was previously convicted of violent crimes. Prosecutors now requesting bail of $775,000. If convicted as charged, Torres could face 7 years in prison.
For the people who basically want to use the protests as a cover to commit criminal activity, when people's words or actions cross that line into criminal behavior, we will go after that criminal behavior. And if you think you can throw books as part of a protest onto oncoming traffic, you are wrong.
Torres is also accused of vandalizing a freeway sign during that protest. He's scheduled to be arraigned possibly today. Reporting live in downtown, Kimberly Chang, KTLA 5 News.
Pope Francis reacting this morning to federal immigration raids taking part across the U.S. Meantime, arrests could start soon here in L.A. The L.A. Times has obtained an internal memo from Immigration and Customs Enforcement. KTLA's Eric Spillman in the newsroom with the latest. Eric, good morning.
Morning, Jessica. The L.A. Times reported on this internal memo from ICE last week. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is angry that that document was leaked. She says that undermines efforts to enforce immigration laws. Now, according to this government memo obtained by the Times, ICE, or Immigration and Customs Enforcement, is planning a large-scale raid in LA before the end of the month. The document says the operation will focus on migrants who are here illegally and have pending orders of removal. And because the raid is so big, FBI and DEA agents have been called in to help out. The Times also reports plans could change because of the pushback that is expected within some of the federal agencies that have been ordered to take part. Now, last week, protesters took to the streets in downtown LA to demonstrate against President Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration. He has promised to conduct the largest mass deportation in U.S. history. ICE has carried out immigration sweeps in other big cities such as Chicago and the Denver area, but so far not yet in Southern California. The Department of Homeland Security has been pushing other federal agencies, including the Internal Revenue Service, to help with immigration operations. New this morning, Pope Francis is speaking out against the raids. He says he disagrees with treating migrants who are in this country illegally as criminals. In a letter to U.S. bishops, the Pope writes, quote, "The act of deporting people who have left their own land for reasons of extreme poverty, insecurity, exploitation, and persecution damages the dignity of many men and women and of entire families and places them in a state of particular vulnerability and defenselessness." In West Hollywood, somebody's been posting phony ICE signs on Santa Monica Boulevard. The flyers say U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and include the agency's tip line phone number. They've been duct taped to trees. It's not known who put them up, but who put them up there. But residents say one thing is clear: whoever did it wanted to intimidate people who are here illegally.
The majority of people who've come here, you know, they pay taxes just like we do, and it saddens me to be in a place where we call home, where a lot of people come to work, a lot of people will feel safe, especially West Hollywood, to be scared.
City officials say the flyers are a code violation and they have ordered them to be removed. Jessica and Frank?
A major ICE immigration enforcement operation supposedly set to hit L.A. soon.
Fox 11's Christy Fajardo live in Boyle Heights with details on a new L.A. Times report. Christy, what does it say?
Well, Christina, does not give an exact date or location, but the LA Times is citing leaked internal government documents as suggesting the ICE raids could hit the greater Los Angeles area by the end of the month.
I will say like 50%. Yeah, they're impacting the business.
Minerva Vila says in the last few weeks, sales have plummeted. She believes the fear of immigration raids has kept customers at home and away from J&F Ice Cream Shop in Boyle Heights.
Talk with my customer and say, whatever time you have, please come and support the business.
In Pico Union, Rogelio Perez tells us sales at his curbside stand are down 30% since President Trump took office.
Menos ventas, menos clientes.
There are fewer sales, fewer people, he tells us in Spanish. The markets are empty. Before he was president, the malls were full of people, he says. Both businesses are in largely Latino and immigrant neighborhoods, where locals, even some of those here legally, worry they could be caught up in ICE raids. The LA Times reports a large-scale immigration enforcement action could be coming this month. James Quealy and his colleague Brittany Mejia cite leaked internal government documents saying it won't just be immigration officers taking part.
It's largely going to focus on people who have lost legal status or people who have pending removal orders. That's about as specific as it got. And we have heard from a few sources that FBI agents are going to be tapped to be part of this. According to the FBI, that was already happening to some degree.
But even before the Times report, business was already slowing in Mariachi Plaza.
Well, not so.
Crescencio, a mariachi, tells us last month has been slower than usual, with locals not feeling like celebrating.
Viene el verano y ya todo está bien.
That summer will come, he tells us in Spanish, and everything will be okay. And business owners tell us they have been through slowdowns before, including the pandemic and also the Great Recession, and they're hopeful that this will also be temporary. Live in Mariachi Plaza, I'm Christy Fajardo. Let's send it back to you.